Good afternoon, good people. Welcome to episode 5 of Troyism. I'm Troy, and first and foremost, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking with me. This is episode 5. So we're halfway through the season. We have 5 more episodes after this, and then I'm going to take a bit of a break, one to regroup and prepare for season 2. I already have some new concepts I want to bring in. Like I said, I want to have co-hosts, not on every show for season 2, but I do want to bring some special guests in who I value or appreciate their perspectives. Their perspectives aren't like mine, which is a part of why I want them here. I don't want people who share my point of view. I'm not one of those people who's big on being around a lot of people who sound like me. And usually in my group of friends or in my group or settings, I try to be not to be a contrarian because I think that's just an exercise of being anti, but I definitely like to add more nuance or more layer to conversations. And so I want to bring voices on like that who can make me think or add perspective to my train of thought. Because right now it's just me and my train of thought, and that's my worldview, my lived experiences brought to you through these stories. So that's part of what's coming in season 2. A few other things I don't want to talk about right now. I kind of just want to roll them out to you. In addition to that, I want to have a bit of a summer break because, of course, I did start the show. I launched the show in the summer. So, and I film on weekends. So I want just a little bit of summer and some lived experiences so I can bring those back to the show as well. Because I think it's important for shows like this for the host to have lived experiences and bring those into the show so you can get an idea of who you're talking to or who you're tuning into. In addition to that, I'm also working on some things to expand the YouTube channel, a few other series that I want to put on my YouTube channel. In addition to Troyism, I also want to explore a show regarding my rabbit holes. Because I always mention that I'm in a rabbit hole. I love rabbit holes. So every week we'll talk about a different rabbit hole on that show. That show will be a lot shorter, I promise. It will strictly be the rabbit holes. And then I also have a short series that I'm working on. So I'm really trying to round out the channel and build, and I really just want to hit the ground running while I have the momentum. And so I'll take that short break, not a very long break. I don't know how long it's going to be right now, so I don't even want to give you a timeline. But we'll definitely have fun, and we'll get through season 1. I don't even want to say get through. I'm having fun doing this, but we'll finish season 1, and then we will take a break, and I will also work on expanding the social media presence during that time, like into TikTok and things like that. So be patient with me. Like I said, it's a one-man show right now, which I'm actually excited about. I like that it's just me right now because I'm learning every facet of this process, which is good. So again, like I said, I think in episode 1, when we do begin to build the team, pardon me, when we do begin to build a team, then I'll have a knowledge base for every area in which someone's coming in to help. So just be patient with me. We're building something here, and I'm very excited about it. Had I known the possibilities of what this could be or become, I probably wouldn't have let fear kind of hold me captive for so long. So I'll give you a little bit of that right now. Whatever it is that you want to do or you can't stop thinking about, that wakes you up in the middle of the night, that every time you see someone else do it, you'll be like, damn, I could do that. Whatever that is, don't let it rest. Like, you have to cross that wall of fear, because one thing I'll tell you, on that other side of fear, there's nothing. Fear is something that we create in our mind. And even for myself in my daily life, I always ask myself, is this perceived fear, or is there an actual present threat? If there's no present threat, I throw it in the column of perceived fear and I push forward. Now, this took me years to figure out and to traverse, but I did. And I'm at that point, and I just want to tell anybody, if fear is holding you back, and that's fear of anything, fear of being a failure, fear of being laughed at, fear that you don't know what you're doing, just whatever fear that your own personal fear, because we all have our own personal fears that are created and built by the lives we live or our past experiences. Or even sometimes just our proximity, just being close to someone who succeeded or being in close proximity to someone who's failed. We don't realize, but sometimes they can take root in you. So whatever the fear is, bypass it, do it anyway. I'm telling you, keep going. I know you hear this a lot from a lot of people. And as my grandmother would say, everybody can't be telling the same lie. So, well, unless you're Maga or Trump administration, then everybody has to tell the same lie. But that's the stories coming up. We'll get into that later. I have a few quick stories I want to kind of just touch on just to kind of keep you aware before we get into the actual stories. So the first one would be if you are interested in buying an electrical vehicle, whether it's new or used, I have some bad news for you. The tax credit that was made popular in the Biden administration, where you would get $7,500 off the total price of your EV if it's new, or $4,000 off if it's used, will expire September 30th of this year. September 30, 2025, you will no longer be able to get a tax rebate. So if you're interested in an EV, go get it now. Go get your EV right now, because the tax credit will no longer be available for you after September 30th. It will not be extended or renewed because, as we know with the BBB, Trump and the Trump administration is moving away from the necessity of electrical vehicles, which again was championed by the Biden administration to help reduce emissions and get us closer to a greener society with interest of climate control. Well, Trump has canned that. He's saying that that is not a priority. And because of it not being a priority to the Trump administration, they will not be extending the tax credits. So if you're looking for an EV, get it before September 30th so you can qualify. Remember, it's $7,500 for a new EV and then $4,000 rebate for a used one. So keep that in mind. Another quick story that happens around a little bit before August 1st. If you have student loans, like myself, and I think about 12 million other U.S. citizens, starting August 1st, your student loan balance will start accruing interest again. Whether your account is in forbearance due to a save plan or any of the other plans designed for, I think it's the public service initiative, or the save plan, which is the income based plan. All of those plans, while they will still remain in forbearance because they are still tied up in the courts, you will begin accruing interest again on those accounts effective August 1st. So if you have the financial resources, then you can start paying the interest on August 1st to kind of offset the balance, because I'd expect within the next 3.5 years, or a lot sooner, the Trump administration will more than likely have student loans back up and running. And to be very honest, that's one of those things I'm actually concerned about, because under the Biden administration, it was income driven. I don't know if that'll be the case. Trump has said that that will still be the case with some tweaks. However, he has the SmackDown lady, the lady from SmackDown, Linda McMahon, running the Department of Education, which is wild to me. Wild. She has no framework for it. She's so bad. I miss Betsy DeVos from his first term. And Betsy just looked lost. Every time you looked at Betsy DeVos, she just looked lost and her glasses were dirty. So I actually miss Betsy DeVos when it comes to Department of Education. That's crazy that you could miss her. But yeah, so the SmackDown lady, or Linda McMahon, the Secretary of Education, the Secretary of the Department of Education, it's going to be interesting because, again, his cabinet is insulated with a bunch of billionaires. So you have a bunch of billionaires who, for the most part, a lot of them have been billionaires or very wealthy most of their lives. You're asking them to have the framework for not only the working class, but the, I don't want to say underclass, but the poverty-stricken class, the class that is struggling, And so you're having billionaires create framework for those people, because billionaires, know the day-to-day struggles of people living off dollar menus, and billionaires know what it means to overdraft your bank card or credit card, uh, knowingly incurring overdraft fees just so you can fill up your tank for work for the week. This is what billionaires understand better than any working class politician. So, you know, as we say in Texas, when it comes to storms and things like that, which kind of takes us into our next story, it's time to hunker down, people. We're about to start to feel and see the effects of this administration and what they're trying to do to transform this country. So again, real quick, EV tax credit in September 30th, 7,500 for new vehicles, 4,000 for used, and then effective August 1st, your student loans, no matter what status they're in, whether they're in forbearance or you're currently paying, they will start to accrue interest again. So just keep those things in mind. In addition to keeping those in mind, keep it locked, and we will get into the first story. All right, let's get into story one. You know what? I actually think this show is gonna be a shorter show. Let's see. Fingers crossed. That first segment was pretty lengthy. However, I think we'll be okay. So let's get into the first story, which is a continuation of last week. We were talking about the floods that hit Central Texas. At the time, I think we had reported either 50 or 70. I think there were maybe 50 or 70. The death toll had reached 50 or 70. Well, it has jumped since then, and the current death toll is 129 people. 129 bodies have been recovered from the search efforts. We still have about 170 unaccounted for. Now, these people could be safe. Hopefully, these people are safe, just off the grid, lost their cell phones, lost their belongings, but they're somewhere safe. However, at this point in recovery or in a search effort, this is usually the recovery period where they're actually just searching for bodies. Even then, the search efforts have been put on hold or have slowed to the point of almost holding just because the rain is still coming. Central Texas and Texas in general is still getting pounded by the storms. So this is bad on bad. But what we did talk about last week was the support and the people rushing to assist in Central Texas. First, we have Mexico, not New Mexico, the country of Mexico, in which we are deporting illegal immigrants back to very violently. The president of Mexico made a public statement in which she said that she would make Mexico's resources available and immediately sent resources to the region to begin and assist with the search efforts, which is amazing. I mean, of course. In addition to that, Governor Gavin Newsom in California also made resources available immediately. While Governor Greg Abbott thanked Governor Gavin Newsom of California via Twitter or X, whatever you call it. His mama named him Twitter. I'm going to call him Twitter. This is the thing. Governor Abbott thanked Gavin Newsom for sending resources immediately and helping. That's part one. Part two is he also thanked the Mexican officials, and in the same breath, same press conference, you can look it up. I'm not even going to put the clip because it's actually very disgusting. He also said that while we appreciate the help of Mexico, we are still fully supporting ICE in their efforts to detain and remove illegal immigrants from the state of Texas. That could have been a given. You really didn't have to tell us that. We kind of know how Texas rolls as far as illegal immigration. Actually, we don't really know how Texas rolls because to live in Texas, and as I've stated before, I live in LA right now, but I'm from Texas. To live in Texas, this is not a problem. At least it wasn't a problem when I lived in Texas. And you knew that there was some illegal immigration that took place in the state and that was happening in the state, but it wasn't bad. And like I said, I don't know what has occurred in the almost decade that I've been away, but when I was there, and I'm speaking for Houston and Dallas, It was community, man. I mean, we knew, who the people were. We didn't know their immigration status, but you could kind of suspect. And there's kind of some indicators of immigration status by the way certain Mexican people moved in the state of Texas. So which ironically, those who follow the letter of the law, even when it comes to speeding, if somebody's going a mile under the speed limit, that was usually one of our indicators that they don't want to bring attention to themselves. They don't want to get in trouble. The people who aren't, like publicly out and about, like, or they're always very kind, very supportive, very helpful. Like that's the idea of illegal immigration that I'm familiar with, and not just in Texas, in LA as well. So I hate that, and I don't often use the word hate because it's a very strong word, but I hate that the idea of who not only Latino people are, and I'm speaking more specifically to Mexico, but like the umbrella in which they're all being cast to be these violent people and bad people. And as a black person in this country, I know how that feels. I know how it feels for the dominant society being the architects of white supremacy and white privilege to just create a narrative, and then that just becomes the fact when it's not. You'd be hard pressed to find that. Now, do we have issues with cartels, and do we know in Dallas as well as Houston to find those Latinos? I'm just gonna say Mexicans right now, just because of Texas and California being border states. Now, do we know where those Mexicans who are about that action are located? Yes, we do, but they aren't always. You saw that bug? Is a bug flying. Either way, but though that doesn't speak to immigration status. There are people who are legally here who are still about that action and who live their lives below the law. So I just hate that it's becoming this thing where we have this dusting, so to speak, of characterizing Latino people in general. And so I'm going to get back into the story because there's definitely more to report. I kind of wanted to create a bridge between what's happening with the floods and then what I knew would eventually happen, but I was hoping we would find some civility. Well, the mudslinging has started politically. Director of Homeland Security, Secretary Kristi Noem, is catching a lot of backlash because apparently FEMA's response to the floods in Texas was delayed. There are several occurrences and instances where people are saying that their calls went unanswered. They're setting up their accounts. There was no response for days on end. And so she's dealing with that right now because it looks like FEMA dropped the ball. But I don't want to like shit on FEMA, but when has FEMA ever like really just been on time? I think when we talk about Elon Musk and the Department of, oh, you new here? It's crazy. It's crazy. I promise you, I don't belch this much in my waking life, but I get to this show and I guess they just store themselves when we're on camera. But when we speak of the Department of Government Efficiency and Elon Musk, that's actually an area because, don't stone me, Democrats and libs and just anti-Trumps and anti-Magas, but I don't have a problem with the Department of Government Efficiency going in and actually making government more efficient. I don't have a problem with that, actually. What I have a problem with is using government efficiency to mistreat and target people who worked under your political opponents' administration and calling it government efficiency. That's the problem. But do I feel like we can go through? I mean, every organization has delegation and oversight and audits. So it should be no surprise to us that we should have that within the government. And maybe DOJ is more of an aggressive arm of that. Again, I still don't have a problem as long as there's a pathway to efficiency where we can streamline tax dollars and cut tax dollars for the U.S. citizen. I don't have a problem with that. And because I don't have a problem with that, I think we need to dig into FEMA. Why is FEMA always so late? It really doesn't matter who the president is, because under Bush or W. Bush, when Hurricane Katrina happened, FEMA was just as delayed. Then you move into President Obama's presidency, or just any presidency. It really doesn't matter about the partisanship. FEMA just had, and I don't know if that's regular. You know what? I know someone in FEMA. Let's put a pin in this FEMA. I'm gonna make a note because I do make notes. Let's put a note in this FEMA part so I can finish this actual story. But I'm gonna talk to. I know somebody who works for FEMA, and so I'm gonna get some real FEMA intel, and then I'll come back and talk to you, because it could be that FEMA is just delayed, or it could be that this is a part of FEMA's response time. But I don't think it should be. Even if it is a part of their response time, it sucks and they need to fix it. But I know someone who works for FEMA, so I'm going to reach out to him. I won't say his name, but I'm going to reach out to him. FEMA friend, I'm going to reach out to you because I have some questions. And then I'll follow up next week, actually, with the FEMA topic. But to continue, again, my heart, thoughts, and prayers go out to the families affected by this, whether you lost loved ones, whether you lost property. Again, I can very much relate to what it means to be displaced or affected by a natural disaster in the state of Texas. I know what that comes with, especially in a summer month. Even if it's not a summer month, if you're in the southeast region of Texas, it's virtually summer, like 11 months out of the year. So again, my heart, my thoughts, my prayers are with those. Hopefully the Department of Homeland Security is up to speed now. What I will say to Secretary Noem is that while you're so busy deploying military on U.S. citizens on this bogus performative photo op of immigration, because that's all you do. They were in MacArthur Park in LA this past week, and it was just performative. Like, it looked like a Beyonce halftime. Remember when Beyonce did Formation with the Black Panther thing? Like, that's what it felt like. Like, they were doing like military steps, and then they had the horses doing the military steps. It looked more like a damn 21 gun salute than it looked like anything else. So while you're wasting government time and resources trying to look strong in the eyes of immigration, maybe you could use those resources and get your ass down to Texas and actually do what you say you're supposed to do and secure the homeland, Secretary. Thanks in advance for doing your damn job, which you should have been doing since day one, instead of getting Botox and trying to be cute Battlefield Barbie. Why don't you do your damn job? Okay? Thanks in advance. Sit tight. We'll get into the next story here soon. Yeah, we'll get into the next story soon. All right, we're back. And before we get into this last story, as I said at the top of the show, I'll be taking a break to work on season 2, but also to have a little fun and enjoy the summer. But in addition to that, I will also be mapping out the additional content and shows I'll be building out on the YouTube channel, which is Troyism Media. In addition to that, there's one more thing. I know I'm kind of filling my slate up, right? Pace yourself, Junior. But I will also be looking into doing speaking and hosting engagements. I am college educated. I am degreed from the great Prairie View A&M University. It is the second oldest institution in the state of Texas and the oldest Black Institute of Higher Education. Shout out to all HBCUs, but that one's mine. Prairie View produces productive people. On the hill, on the yard, Maine. That'd be a nice little commercial for PV, right? Love you, PV. You know. Okay. I had to get all that out. You see how it just flows. You just got to keep going with PV, you know. On the yard, going down. It's close to Houston, so forgive me. I want to get into speaking and hosting engagements as well. So I'll be branching out and doing that also. But that won't affect the show. That's just something I'm kind of putting out there. So if you want me to host or speak, let's discuss. Hit me on the email, which is right here. and let's discuss. Let's talk. So, this next story, I had to decompress because this story is a lot, and I'm switching gears. Previously on As the Maga Turns, because it is turning into a full-on telenovela in the interest of immigration, not a soap opera, a telenovela. But speaking of soap operas, I grew up, so if you grew up, and I don't know if it's the same for other households, I know Latinos watch telenovelas or had telenovelas playing, or watched telenovelas, had telenovelas playing. But growing up in the black community, we watched soap operas and we called them stories. That's what we called them. Grandmother called them stories. Grandma called them stories. Big mama called them stories. I'm watching my stories. So I want to share because every family and every grandma, every big mama had their own like set that they watched, and they were not the same. So in my household, the stories or soap operas of choice were The Young and the Restless, which is pretty common. Like everybody had The Young and the Restless, and then they had like All My Children or General Hospital or Days of Our Lives or As the World Turns or Passion or Bold and the Beautiful, or everybody had that. I told you stories. But mine growing up in my household on my sick days and in the summertime, my family or my godmother, D, rest in peace to D, who raised me. Yeah, just took a moment for D. But hers were The Young and the Restless and Bold and the Beautiful. So growing up, with that playing, you're in earshot. Eventually you walk by and you watch, or you have a sick day and then you're on the couch, bundled up, sick with a fever, but you're watching. So Young and the Restless I love The Young and the Restless. Shout out to Victor Newman, Nikki Newman, Victoria Newman, Nicholas Newman. It's this dude that works out at my gym, look just like Nick Newman. The actor's name is Joshua Morrow. It's not Joshua Morrow because I may have Googled Joshua Morrow 2025 and they don't look the same, but I thought it was Joshua Morrow. But anyway, it wasn't. But yeah, who did you have? Miss Chancellor, which was played by, what's the actress name? Her name is Jeannie Cooper. Jeannie Cooper, I don't know if it's Guinness or not, but Jeannie Cooper was known because she got a facelift on the show. Like Miss Chancellor, she got the facelift. So Jeannie Cooper, who played Miss Chancellor, she was always like at war and beefing with Jill, who also wanted to be Chandler, because Jill was having an affair with her husband, Philip Chancellor, and then they had a son. And so Miss Chancellor had the Chancellor estate, but Jill thought because she had a son by Mr. Chancellor, Philip Chancellor, who died, her son was entitled to that estate as well. So they spent their whole lives fighting, like every week. Like you could miss, and I didn't watch it consistently because school and then summer, but you could miss 6 months of The Young and the Restless and you come back and Jill and Miss Chancellor are still fighting over that estate. And you may come back and Jill's living in the house and Miss Chancellor is sleeping on Nikki Newman's couch, because her and Nikki Newman were really cool. Now, Nikki Newman used to be a stripper, and Victor was in the strip club and left his wife. Okay. My other show was The Bold and the Beautiful, which is just as complex as The Young and the Restless. So The Bold and the Beautiful, it was based on fashion in LA. So it was the Forrester. So you had Eric Forrester, who was the patriarch. You had Stephanie Forrester, who was hell on wheels. Then you had Brooke Logan, but the Forresters had two sons. They had Ridge and they had Thorne. So Brooke, they had them out. Brooke is the first hot girl. Brooke Logan Forrester is the original hot girl, city girl. Whatever. She's more of a city girl. Shout out to JT and Carisha. JT in Young Miami. She hate when people call her Carisha. But anyway, how can she hate it? She got Carisha, please. But anyway, so you had Eric Forrester, Stephanie Forrester. They had sons, Ridge and Thorne. Brooke slept with the father, Eric, the son Ridge, who she was madly in love with, and then she eventually ended up with Thorne too. She had the father and both of the sons. Stephanie hated. Stephanie tried to kill this woman like 10 times. Like Stephanie Forrester was willing to go to prison for trying to kill Brooke. But anyway, so you had that, and then you had Forrester, which was the main fashion house, and then you had Spectra, which was Sally Spectra. They were like not the knockoff, but they were the competitors between Forrester Fashions and then Spectra. So anyway, I said all that to say our new soap opera is clearly going to be as the MAGA turns. So, or MAGA Nation implodes. So MAGA right now is being split right up the middle. Not even up the middle. It's really the Trump administration, and then there's MAGA. There's a lot of war going on. So, and believe it or not, it is all over I don't want to say dearly departed, but the dead dude, Jeffrey Epstein, who did not kill himself. They want to tell us he killed himself, but he didn't. Let me give you the Cliff Notes of this. Again, it's a lot. So, timeline, boom. Jeffrey Epstein, embattled financier who was once a math teacher, then all of a sudden ended up getting hundreds of millions of dollars. You can do the research on him. I'm not here to give you like the clever. So when I talk about the rabbit holes, that will be one of the rabbit holes. Like Jeffrey Epstein, front to back, A to Z. That would be one of the rabbit holes. But right now, I'll just give you I scratched myself. I'll give you the high level as far as Jeffrey Epstein. Financier, some say he was an asset for the US CIA as well as the Mossad and Israel. Again, kind of getting into the weeds. Either way, you know who Jeffrey Epstein is. He's known to be a global blackmailer of high-profile politicians and elites, not only facilitating their chomo needs, but I think I can get away with chomo on YouTube. Their chomo needs. He also blackmailed them using their affinity for chomoism. So he gets indicted under the first Trump administration. He goes to jail under the first Trump administration, ends up dead in his cell in the first Trump administration. I keep saying that because there's a reason. So they say he committed, unaliving of himself during the first Trump administration. The battle has been Epstein did not off himself versus Epstein offed himself under the first Trump administration. Get through the whole Biden administration. The rallying cry from the right and MAGA is release the Epstein client list. We found out that former President Bill Clinton was on there 26 times, released on the flight log, not the client list, on the flight logs 26 times. I haven't done anything 26. I haven't been to any place, I think, like with the exception of like school and college and work. I'm just saying leisurely. I have not been to any place in my life leisurely 26 times, not even Vegas. And I love Vegas. Yeah, I've not been to one place 26 times. I don't know if that speaks to Bill or me, but I don't know who needs to do the work. Either way, so MAGA was pretty much like, release the client list. We want to know. We know it's the deep state. They are obsessed. They get their rocks off from the deep state. They love talking about the deep state. And then lo and behold, boom, you are the deep state. You are part of the deep state. You facilitate the deep state. So follow me. We get through the entire Biden administration. Between that and then the Hunter Biden stuff, we heard it all 4 years from them. The country is falling apart. The deep state is running the country. And then we get to Trump winning his second term, in which he campaigned on. We are going to release those Epstein files. All of his people who were lying in wait for their positions, being Pam Bundy, who is now the U.S. Attorney General, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, who are a part of the current administration's FBI or directors of the FBI. All these people were in their respective cubby holes of the internet and social media alike saying, first order of business, we are going to release that Epstein client list because it needs to come out. We need to drain the swamp. We need to destroy the deep state. That's what they said. And then we get to last week. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, the highest attorney in the land, the Department of Justice, said that, you know what? After all this talk, all 4 years of Biden, the first 4 years of the Trump administration, we've been talking Epstein. We have Ghislaine Maxwell, who's in jail currently, or so we think, as far as we know. You never really know with the deep state. Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Epstein's right-hand woman, or she was the child wrangler, the young girl wrangler, or we don't really know if it was just only girls, but we'll just say girls for the sake of this. The young girl wranglers, and that was Ghislaine Maxwell, and so she's in jail currently. So AG Pam Bondi comes out and says, you know what? We looked at those lists. There was nothing there. Now, mind you, these people were doing photo ops out the ass. Like, they were posting with the binders up. We're ready to get to work. Day one of the Trump administration. We're going to bring them down. We're going to drain the swamp. We're going to, crack open the deep state. That's what they said. Well, last week, Attorney General Pam Bondi says, you know what? We did the investigation. There's nothing there. Nothing burger. There's no there. Remember we used to say that? There's no there. She said there's no there. And so it's a wrap. We don't want to talk about it anymore. It's done. Wrap it up. Well, Maga had different things in mind. Maga said, no. This is one of our tent poles. One of our tent poles is exposing the corrupt elites who have been touching on children. Who have been touching and then some on children. And so she said, no. We reviewed it. There's nothing there. In fact, she said, because I want to quote her because these lies are gonna snowball. They've already started to snowball, but they're gonna snowball even more. So I want to make sure I'm capturing what she said. She said that we reviewed them, and in those files, all we saw was that Jeffrey Epstein was a sick man who had hours and hours and hours and hours of child, explicit videos. We had child explicit videos. That's all he had. He had hours and hours of it. There were no clients in it. There's no client list. None of that. It was just a man who was obsessed with chomo activity on tape. And so that was it. And with that, she said that will never see the light of day because we will protect it. We are not going to be the administration that releases chomo videoed activity. We're not doing it. Maga said, the hell you will. You've dragged this through 2 presidential, and I agree with Maga. Don't tell anybody I said that, though. I'll deny it. Maga said, the hell you will. We spent 2 presidential administrations as well as years and years of Alex Jones. If you don't know who Alex Jones is, look him up. Alex Jones saying, hey, there's this small island where the elites go and they touch on children, and it's politicians, it's actors, it's athletes, it's global world officials. That's what good. Look up Alex Jones. I think that was a good Alex Jones. But anyway, there's this elite group. They're touching on kids. It's headed up by Jeffrey Epstein, and it's funded by the Mossad in Israel. Forgot that part. You see how this is all coming together with the stories we've been talking about? You see how this is all painting a very dark picture? Anyway, so MAGA has imploded. They imploded to the point to where El Jefe, Trump, had to come forward and say, hey, stop talking about Epstein. He's a loser that nobody cares about. Mind you, this man has more pictures with Epstein than I've seen of him with any of his wives, any of his children. He has more pictures with Jeffrey Epstein than anyone. So, interesting. Anyway, he said, we're not talking about this anymore. Let's move on. MAGA told him, the hell we are. And so what you're seeing now is these people who are devout MAGA supporters and even the grifters like the podcast bros like Andrew Schultz, Joe Rogan, These people who essentially rallied the crowd and rallied the crew to kind of create this new wave, because I want you to be clear, this new wave of MAGAs, because MAGA isn't just these old crotchety boomer type people anymore. No, MAGA has an undercurrent of new influencer, TikTok type young kids. But don't fret, like Nick Fuentes, they're all jumping ship because they're said, hey, you told us that you were not like Biden. You were not like the previous administrations that would allow this to happen. And lo and behold, you turn out to be nothing more than another dirty part of the swamp that still needs to be drained. So you have these influencers jumping ship. You have people, he actually got ratioed on his own social media platform, Truth Social. And really quick, ratio means that the comments or the people against you are greater than the people for you. So I think at the time he had maybe 23,000 likes. He had 25,000 comments, meaning there are 25,000 people who said, the hell you will, brush this under your MAGA carpet and move forward like you did with your assassination attempt, which was a year ago. And we've heard nothing of it. We've heard nothing about the shooter. I know more about Dylan Roof than I know about this shooter that almost killed the president, or unalived, sorry, the president. I got to get used to that. I know more about Kyle Rittenhouse than I know about the guy who unalived, or almost unalived, attempted to unalive the president. Interesting. That thing was staged. We all know it. We know it was staged. It's unfortunate. One day we'll prove it, like the moon landing. Who said that? But again, I have a rabbit hole show coming after season 2. I have a rabbit hole show coming. That's going to be fun. It's going to be like my tinfoil hat show. But anyway, back to this. MAGA. They are, like I said before, they're imploding. In addition to that, you have people inside the Trump administration who are going defunct now. You have the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who's 59, by the way. You know, not to give credit where credit is undue, but she doesn't look bad for 59. I thought she was younger than that. She's 59 years old. I thought evil aged horribly, but there's loopholes, I guess. So she's in lockstep with Trump. On the other side, you have the directors of FBI, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, who say, no, well, Kash Patel has shifted. He's kind of like the middleman, and he's riding the fence because he doesn't want to lose Dan Bongino, but he also wants to remain loyal to the Trump administration. So he's kind of on the fence, but Dan Bongino feels a lot like, hell no, you will not have my name associated with allowing elite chomos to roam the world free, and we act like this never happened. Because if none of this is real and all Epstein had was a bunch of unsavory chomo videos, why is Ghislaine Maxwell still in jail? Why was Ghislaine Maxwell ever put in jail? Why was Jeffrey Epstein put in a work release? Do you know they have work release prison programs? I didn't even know this. So apparently, if you watch Real Housewives of Atlanta, I think Peter Thomas, who was Cynthia Bailey's first husband, I think it was her first husband, because she wasn't married to Leon. First husband, I think he's on one of those work release programs where you go to jail for a few days and then they let you out on the weekends, and then you just report. I didn't even know you could do jail like that. That's crazy. But anyway, Jeffrey Epstein was on one of those programs before he was captured by the federal government, where he took his life. Lies. He had already been on a work release program in the state of Florida for this very thing, for underage massages, a whole thing. Either way. So if all of this is a nothing burger, that's another word, a nothing burger, that politicians used to use. If all of this is a nothing burger, then why was he on a work release program? 1. 2, why is Ghislaine Maxwell still in jail? These are questions that will not go away, no matter how much Trump hops on Truth Social or X or wherever saying, forget about it, let's move on. Jeffrey Epstein was a loser. He was a loser that you have over 40 pictures with. 40 pictures that spanned at least 3 to 4 decades. If he was a loser, he was in good company. Also, you have your recently fallen out ex-BFF Elon Musk, who's twisting the knife as well. He took to X, his platform, more commonly known as Twitter. He took to his platform most recently. Now, remember, at their initial onset, he said they're not releasing, before we even knew about them not releasing, he affirmed they will not release the Epstein files because Trump's on them. Fast forward 3 weeks. That was only 3 weeks ago. Mind you, we're still only 6 months into this administration. Buckle up. Fast forward 3 weeks, and he's doubling or tripling down. He's saying, what type of government, what type of country is this where you can't trust the government to rid us of these type of things? Now, I'm paraphrasing his tweet, but essentially he said, we can't trust the government to protect us if they're protecting the chomos. And so keep watching. I don't know where this story is going to go. I don't think it's going to be unalived like they did Jeffrey Epstein. I think this story will stay alive and well. And I think what happens with Ghislaine Maxwell, pardon me, that was a big one. Whatever happens with Ghislaine Maxwell in the next few weeks or so will determine where this is going. But this is where I want to take it. And this is what I always think of these situations, not just when it involves children, but when it's a situation where there's a crime that's been committed or that violates human rights. For every second, minute, hour, day, week, month, year that you allow this type of predatory behavior to not have to answer to justice, you're allowing it to happen more and more and more. When I say that, what I mean is, if there is this global ring of elite chomos, do you think they are not chomoing right now as I film this? Do you think they have not been chomoing since Epstein unalived himself? Lies. Do you think that they stopped when AG Pam Bundy came out and said they probably had a chomo freak off, which is crazy. Because while it's not your children, it's someone's children. And it's children in general. And then you think about it, this is the anti-abortion party. We have to care about all heartbeats. All heartbeats matter. Especially all adolescent children heartbeats matter. You don't know you know what? Let's go and play tinfoil hat now. Let's go back to our story about the floods in Texas. We know that there were people, young girls at a summer camp that were missing, that are still missing. Hopefully they don't end up in one of the chomo camps and we just write them off to no longer be seen again and just write them off as missing forever. For every second that we don't do something about this or don't speak about this, don't let him bury this. Don't let him bury this like they buried Jeffrey Epstein. Like they're probably going to bury Ghislaine Maxwell because she can't stay alive. She can't be around because she knows now. And now this puts her at the hierarchy of blackmail. She knows all the secrets. Even more so, Epstein's attorney, Alan Dershowitz, he said because of attorney-client privilege, he can't speak matter-of-factly, but what he can say is there is a list, it does exist, and elite people are on it. So whatever thing y'all are trying to brew up at 1600 to make us forget this with your little men in black pants, it's not going to work because children are involved. And God forbid, but God allow, that the one thing that brings this country together, and I'm talking about Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike, not considering Maga because y'all aren't real people, y'all are a cult. But what will bring us all together is we all become tinfoil hats and try to figure out who these elite people are who have been touching on children. You don't want that to happen. You want to talk Civil War. You don't want that to happen. So I don't know what maneuvers you're going to do or try to do to make us forget about this, but we will not forget about this. Even if I have to report, even if I have to have an Epstein client list segment every week, we're going to keep talking about this because, like I say, right now, as I record this, Children are being touched. And that's happening. That's happening without regard to this elite global ring. That is happening. They bust rings in Louisiana all the time. They just busted one. They busted one in Texas. They busted one in Florida. They busted a few in Florida, but I digress. So we're not going to let this go. We're not going to let this go. We're not going to stop talking about it. We're not going to stop posting about it. And at the end of the day, does A.G. Pam Bundy have children? I wonder if she has children. I need to look that up. I don't know if she has children or not. But no mother, and I'm sorry, we're going to play the double standard game here because, you know, me can kind of be POS pieces of shit at times. But no mother should allow this to happen. Kellyanne Conway, where are you? You know, of all the people from the first term, I always respected Kellyanne Conway. I didn't like the way she spent the Trump narrative, but she did her job and she did a damn good job. And you can tell who Kellyanne Conway is at work isn't who she is at home because her husband hates him, hated Trump. Her children hated Claudia Conway, hated Trump. They created whole social media personas or personalities hating Trump. So I know we ride hard with on Kellyanne Conway, but I'm gonna result to Kellyanne Conway was a woman who just had a sucky job, like a meter maid, like a parking attendant. You just had a sucky job. You had to do your job, but outside of your job, you're pretty cool. You know, I'm gonna give you that, especially since you are not even within a rock's throw of this administration. You even begrudgingly do interviews. But either way, A.G. Pam Bundy, if you are a mother or if you have kids in your close proximity, understand that children are being touched as we speak because you are covering for the 34-time convicted felon. It's disgusting. That's it. It's just disgusting. I don't have a series of words for that. It's disgusting. Oh yes, I do. It's inhumane. You're subjecting children to this. It's bad enough you're doing this to immigrants with these detention centers, but what you're exposing these children to and what you're not protecting these children from, how are you the highest attorney in the land and you're allowing this happen? You have no moral conscience. You have no integrity. And history will remember you as such. I don't care what you do. You could go off and be on the team that cures some crazy disease. You will always go down as the woman in history who not only allowed this to happen on her watch, but you went out of your way to cover it up. We won't stop talking about this. You're covering it up, and we're going to keep talking about it until it sees the light of day. So good luck with that, but not really. Sit tight, and we'll come back, and we'll put a bow on show 5. All right. Woo! Show 5. Cinco in the can. Of course, I always have my thank yous. Thank you for being here. Thank you to my little Troy tribe that I'm building here. I have a group of people who knew me before the show, but they reach out to me. They watch the shows. They give me notes. They provide me pointers, and I really appreciate it. It's helping me shape it out and make sure that I give you the best version of content and the best version of these stories where it's the news or what's going on in media and pop culture, but also infused with who I am. Ultimately, that's the goal. So I appreciate my little Troy tribe that helps me. I really do appreciate you. You're helping me shape this out. And I'm really grateful for you. I'm grateful to you all, everyone who views this show. First of all, let me give myself a little applause, just a little bit. I think I got through this entire show, mama. Check in. I got through this entire show, no F-bombs. And I didn't edit them out. If you're watching this, I did not edit out the F-bombs. I actually just did not say them. So I'm doing better, expanding my vocabulary. The next thing is I want to get those filler pauses out of there. But I'll take, look, just use them. I'll work on those. I'll keep going. By the end of this, I will be Tyrone Koppel reporting or Walter Cronkite. I'll watch. By the end of this, or by the time we get well-oiled machine, you look at episode 1 and whatever and be like, oh man, growth. But in addition to all of that, and in regards to the stories, I'll say this. I think we're still only 6 months into this administration, and I know that we I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think we still have some dark times ahead. I don't think we've hit the bottom of this yet. And so I just kind of want to prepare you for that. I also want you to be thinking about your financial security. I also want you to start thinking about your budget and where you can cut costs. I want you to start thinking about job security, as far as finding a job or maybe keeping the job you want, even though you may be ready to go into another industry or get another job. I'm not saying don't move forward and don't move up. I'm just saying think twice, think three times before you make moves that you will make in uh, time or a place in this country where we had a little more stability. I don't know what the grand scheme of this is, and to be honest, I don't think Trump knows what the grand scheme of this is. I have my theories even about Trump. That'll probably be on the Rabbit Hole show. But I just want you to know that we're all in this together. And the only way we fail is if we let them divide us. And so we can't be divided. Even if you're not Latino and you don't want to take to the streets, you can still show solidarity. And as Tabitha Brown says, if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say nothing at all. Or what? No, that's not what she says. Tabitha Brown says, "Oh, if you can't have a good day, don't go ruin nobody else's." Same. It's in the neighborhood. You know what I meant. But this is the time where you're about to find out what you're made of. You're about to find out, I think we're already finding out, you're about to find out how fragile democracy can be. You're going to find out why it's so important to exercise your civic duty when it comes to voting. You're about to find out how at the federal level, all the way down to the local level, how these elections affect you. You're about to see it. And some of us are already seeing it and feeling it in real time. I don't want you to be afraid. Although you will see some things that make you afraid and make you concerned about your families, your livelihood, your future, I will say this country has been through darker times. This country has survived darker times. And honestly, that's across the board. We have survived plagues, childbed death. We've survived wars. We've survived internal wars. And I think, honestly, right now, we're about to see like a remix or a hyped up version of all of that. I think we're going to get a little bit of the plagues with the measles. I think we're going to get a little bit of civil unrest with the infighting and divisiveness all the way up to the highest office in the land. I mean, the FBI and the Department of Justice are beefing, you know? So I think you're about to get a little glimpse of the highlight reel of all the hardships we've been through in this country that makes this country great. Because I hate saying make this country great because then it sounds like I'm aligning. I ain't aligning with that. But what I will say is, while this country hasn't always been great to sectors of people, including my communities, what I will say is we've always found a way, the larger of us, to come together and push forward. And so I don't want you to lose that because you'll need it now more than ever. Matter of fact, what I want everybody to do, go back and watch Obama's speeches about hope and change and things like that. This is the time we didn't really need it during him, even though we had the housing crisis and the recession of 2008. It's times like that where we have to really show and prove with that shit. We have to really go out of our way to be kind. We really have to go out of our way to be understanding. We have to extend our patience a little bit more than we have before. And so we'll continue to thread that through these conversations that we have, because as much as we can feel justified and snapping and crashing out and doing all that stuff, I'm telling you, there are certain factors or factions of the government that want you to crash out because then they can be justified in plans that they already have. Their plans don't go off without a hitch. Their plans don't become a reality, although their plans will have global scrutiny if we don't give them what they want. And it's already looking that way. I don't know how much you keep up with news, but it's already looking like a lot of this is unwarranted. You are creating global unrest, but you're also creating domestic unrest in this country to the likes of which we've never seen, or we've seen but a very, very, very long time ago. So keep your eyes peeled, use your cat eye, keep your head on a swivel, but more importantly, this is the time where your voice for others will matter more than your voice for yourself. I'll say that again. This is a time where your voice for others will matter more than the voice you have for yourself. It is expected that you speak up for your own in your own right, in your own way of life and living. It is when you show those people up there and out there that I don't care what we disagree on, fundamentally, this is one country, one nation, under God, and we've had tougher times, and we're going to find a way through this. Even if it's detaching ourselves from the government and understanding that our mindset as a country will have to move in a different direction, or in spite of, or in adversity to our own U.S. government. Not violently, not physically, but ideally. We may get to the point, I think we're rapidly actually getting to the point where we'll have to do that. And I said I wasn't going to wax on poetically, but if you know me by now, you knew there was going to be a little poetry and a little wax. So I'm going to get out of here. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and be kind until show 6. All right, bye.